right? So oleogenous bases are more prone to oxidation, right? But our emulsion kind of bases are more liable to the growth of microorganism, right? That's why for the preservation of OW kind of bases we need to add a proper kind of preservative or addition of preservative for the preservation, right? So as we know that is our microorganism are grow in the water. If our preparation contain oil, that time there is a increasing the chances of microbial growth, right? That's why we should take care of that kind of preparation or that kind of basis, right? And that's why we need to add a proper kind of preservative or the agent preservative or some microbial organism preventing or killing the or inhibiting the agent, that is a preservative, right? So by this way also we can stabilize the our preparation, right? We can stabilize the our preparation. So these point are giving information regarding the stability or for the uh, stability of our ointment basis, right? Then liquid paraffin ointment to be oxidized during the storage. So there is a one also one condition are given, that is the liquid paraffin. So liquid paraffin, it is a oleogenous kind of ointment basis, right? Oleogenous kind of ointment basis as like our hard paraffin, then soft paraffin, right? So this is the liquid paraffin. And our liquid paraffin also more prone to the oxidization or oxidation. But the oxidation occurred in the liquid paraffin during the its storage during the its storage. Suppose we prepare a liquid paraffin, right? Liquid paraffin, and then we store it for the long duration of time, and due to the long storage of long duration time, that become oxidized. That's become oxidized. So oxidize, as I said, that is oxidation it or oxidize, it is a one kind of instability problem, right? So the oxidation also occur into the liquid or with the liquid paraffin also, right? And we know that is for the preventing the oxidation we need to add a antioxidant or antioxidant kind of agent, right? Then emulsifying bases are liable to phase separation due to the improper formulation and influence of temperature. So phase separation, so as like our emulsion, our ointment is also on one kind of emulsion, right? Because emulsion ointment made up of two phase, right? uh, that is a basis. I am talking about the basis, that is a emulsion kind of basis. So emulsion is as like our emulsion kind of basis also the made up of two kind of phases or two kind of part, right? And our emulsion kind of bases are also liable to the phase separation, also liable to this phase separation. And we know that is there is a various reason for phase separation, right, in emulsion, right? But for the preparation of emulsion kind of basis also there is a occurring the chances of occurring the separation, phase separation, right? And this phase separation occur due to the improper formulation. If suppose improper formulation means, suppose during the preparation of emulsion kind of basis, if there is change in the ratio of our water primary emulsion, right? Whenever we are going to prepare the emulsion, that time before the actual preparing the actual emulsion, we need to firstly formulate the primary kind of emulsion, right? So for the primary kind of emulsion we need a proper ratio of water, gum and oil. And fixed for the fixed oil there is a given one fixed ratio. For the mineral oil there is given a one fixed ratio, as well as our volatile kind of liquid there. For that there is also giving the one fixed ratio. So that's why here called it that is a improper formulation. So suppose there is a accidentally or intentionally change in the our, or we can change the our concentration or the ratio of our for the primary emulsion, that time also there is a chances of phase separation also, right? So as similar like in emulsion bases are happen in emulsion bases also, that is a phase separation also happen in the emulsion bases also, right? If there is a improper formulation, means there is a change in the actual ratio of our primary emulsion, that time we called it that is a improper formulation, right? And due to the improper formulation, there is a what happened, there is a phase separation, means the continuous phase and dispersors become a separate from each other, right? Separate from each other. And if the emulsion bases separate from each other, the phases of emulsifying bases separate from each other, that time we will call it, it is unstability condition, right? Unstability condition. So instability condition why occurred? Due to the improper formulation, right? As well as the influence of a temperature. So phase separation also chances of occurring during the influence of temperature. Influence of temperature means whether it is increasing temperature due to the increasing temperature, or whether it is due to the decreasing temperature, right? So that's why there is a called the influencing of temperature. So due to the influencing of temperature also, there is a chances of phase separation with a emulsifying kind of bases, emulsifying kind of bases. So you should remember that the phase separation occur in the our emulsifying bases due to the improper formulation, right? Means as well as the due to the change in temperature or influencing of our temperature, right? So that's why we should know the instability condition, and also along with the for we have to know the prevention of this instability problem also with our what is the happening with our ointment bases, right? So there is a for the there very there is a instability problem are given according to their preparation, like liquid paraffin. For the liquid paraffin, there is a prone to oxidation. Then for the OW kind of emulsion, there is a chances of occurring microbial growth. And for the oleogenous basis, there is oxidation problem. And for the emulsion basis, there is a phase separation, and the phase separation occur due to the improper formulation and influence in the temperature, right? So you should know all these things. If our ointment basis is a stable, that time we will call it our ointment is a effective ointment bases are suitable for our preparation, right? So that's why you should know this thing carefully, right? Then our this is our pharmaceutical factor, that is a stability. It is our first factor from the pharmaceutical factor, right? So we should consider this thing carefully, and during the selection of our ointment basis, right? Then our second properties, that is a solvent properties. Solvent properties means our ointment basis has a solvent properties, whether it is possesses solvent properties or not, right? So let's see what is that. Then most of drug insoluble in ointment basis, hence fine powder drug mix the ointment basis to get a uniform distribution. So as we know, that is the ointment prepare the means in simple, the for the preparation of ointment, what happened actually, as like our suspension and emulsion, there is in emulsion the dispersed globules distributed throughout the continuous phase, right? So as similar like happening here. So what happened, that is what are the medicament that we select for the preparation, that medicament, the fine particles of our medicament or drug are distributed uniformly into our ointment basis. So means in the ointment preparation, the ointment basis act as a continuous phase. Means in general, the ointment basis act as a continuous phase, and our drug are act as a disperse phase, right? Because disperse phase distributed into the continuous phase, right? In that is this is happening in our emulsion, right? But in ointment preparation, our medicament are distributed, the fine particles of our medicament distributed into the ointment basis uniformly. That time we will get a, if these things happen carefully, afterward we will get a one stable kind of ointment, right? So in ointment preparation, the ointment bases act as a continuous phase, and our drug or active drug or medicament act as a disperse phase. And we should make our drug as a fine powder, right? And that fine powder mixed with a oleogenous basis, right? Oleogenous basis. Most of the drug are insoluble in emulsifying basis, hence fine powder. Means what happened, that is a oleogen in the oleaginous basis, means there is a most of drug are present that are insoluble in the ointment basis, right? Insoluble in the ointment basis. So that's why there is a called in the solvent properties, right? That is a called as a solvent property. Means over basis, oleogenous basis act as a solvent, and the solid material are dissolved into the solvent, right? That's why it is very necessary to understand the solvent property of our ointment basis, right? So for the, as we know that is our most of the drug are insoluble in the ointment basis, right? But if you suppose we need to uh, mix the our insoluble drug or insoluble medicament into our oleogenous basis, then what we can do, in general it is not possible because it is insoluble, but we need, suppose we need to uh, soluble our insoluble drug into the ointment basin, that time what we can do, that is the, there is a one thing or one factor or one solution, that is a reduction of particle size of a drug, reduction of our particle size of drug, right? Means we need to decrease the particle size of our drug. That means we should prepare the our drug into fine powder, and fine powder of drug, fine powder of insoluble drug can easily distributed throughout the ointment basis, right? Throughout the ointment basis. That's why there is a called the solvent properties. Solvent properties also important. Then phenol in solid form in quite caustic, and if fine form present in oleogenous basis cause blisters. So there is a one example are given, that is a phenol. So as in general the our phenol is a insoluble in the ointment basis, insoluble in the ointment basis, right? So phenol in a solid form, phenol on a the phenol also present in a liquid form also, but there is a discussing about the solid form of our phenol. So phenol is a one kind of chemical and one kind of medicament also, we can say it is a medicament, right? You just remember that is a phenol is a medicament, and it is available in the solid form, right? Then form a quite caustic, and if fine form present in a oleogenous basis causes blisters. So suppose phenol mixed with a ointment basis or oleogenous basis, that become a quite a caustic, and if we need to find it, if we find our phenol particles or particles of solid particles of our phenol, and afterward we used in mix with the ointment basis, that become a blisters, that become a blisters. So blister means there is a roughness, right? Suppose after the mixing of our solid particles or solid fine powders into the ointment basis, then what happened, that become that will not properly dissolve or properly distributed through the ointment, and after the touching of that mixture of phenol or ointment basis, that become give a feel like a blisters, right? Means roughness feel, it give a roughness feel to the our hand, right? So by this way also the solvent properties are required for the selection of our ointment basis also, right? Then hence it should be dispensed in a suitable basis which keep it in the solution form, and that's why means and we know that is if solid if we find the our phenol, right, that time what happen, and that fine powder of phenol added into the ointment basis or mixed with ointment basis is it's give a blister like feel, right? Blister like feel. That's why for this kind of preparation, phenol means insoluble preparation, insoluble medicament, there is a suggestion for the using the suitable kind of basis, and that basis should have a property, that is it's keep the our insoluble medicament into a solution form, right? So by this way our solvent properties are act, and solvent property are responsible for the means solvent property is very important for the our ointment basis, right? So this is I think this is enough for today, and whatever the remaining portion is we will discuss in our next lecture, right? So thank you.